We finally got both players ready, though. We're heading into Light Shade for game 1 of this best of 5. In the top left, as the blue Zerg, it is Ego's Elazer.
Playing for Team XCOM Ego. His opponent in the bottom right, playing for Team Clash. He's jamming to his playlist, which he finally shared. It is Reynor. Have you checked out the playlist?
I did, yes.
What did you think?
You know, I could see where he's coming from. I think his exact description of it was like, they're not all that great, but they get you in the mood, right? They get your heart pumping. And I'm like, yep, that sums it up. Not that great, but gets your heart pumping.
Ashtem had a great description of that playlist. He said like it greatly motivated him too, because every time that he started it and listened to it, he told himself that he had to win a game or a series before he could turn it off. So it really motivated him to win.
Yes, that also sounds about right. Not my favorite. But you know, Todd, I used to, back when we could, I guess when we streamed, right, actually listen to, good music, I suppose. I was a K-pop listener, all right? That really got my groove going. So can't do that anymore, which is a bit of a downer, but... Did you listen to music when you played professional Warcraft?
Not really. I think it depends. Sometimes, actually, when I played in tournaments, usually I would have the game music on because, you know, there was not really much soundproofing going on. So I wanted to have an extra layer of sounds as to not hear anything. So I had the game music on very often. But I think when I played StarCraft, what I would do very often is like whatever song makes me, you know, the happiest that I'm listening to on repeat, you cue it at the start of your game, and then by the time it finishes, you're 3-4 minutes in, and then you don't have it anymore, and then you can just focus on the rest of the game, but it puts you in a good mood at the start. And I think a lot of pros of StarCraft 2, they still do this to this day.
Oh, all right. That is an interesting approach. Never really considered that. I know there's been a couple of like Artosis once did specifically like no sounds whatsoever practice, right?
Yeah.
So you're supposed to be like training like more of your map awareness, but I always wondered if that was actually effective. Because of course we have an example, we have a testimony to listening to music all the time right here in Reynor, who is one of the best players in the world, if not, you know, the best, having won the most recent variation of the global championship that we could have during COVID. But we've kind of covered the first 3 minutes where everything was going very similar. No early pools, no stuck on 2 base into roaches. And now we have something a little bit different to talk about. So Reynor is adding on a Baneling Nest for Elazer. Might actually try and skip that. So what you want to do is provide pressure with the Lings, get your opponent to keep on their side of the map, and then go into roaches and even perhaps a follow-up attack with said roaches. But this is something that Reynor, if he can predict it, would definitely just make Banelings ASAP. And it looks like Elazer's not going to try and skip the Baneling Nest. It is a lot later.
Yeah. I think he can threaten to go inside of the expansion and main base. That's the thing with a lot of Lings. If he was just attacking the third base, obviously Banelings are going to have an easy defense. But Reynor's already working towards the wall. I wonder if he might start closing that. Elazer usually very often goes a lot more passive, at least in the matches that I've seen recently, where he gets the Evo Chamber and he goes for +1 Carapace. But in this game, it seems like he wants to really be aggressive here with a lot of Lings. And now that's Reynor's well set up on his 3 bases with Banelings. I don't know how Elazer is ever going to find any damage here.
No, he's not. And he kind of found damage in the way that only Zergs can take damage, which is that they make army supply as opposed to drone supply. And that did happen for Reynor a bit longer than it did for Elazer, who really, by making those Lings first, he took control of the pacing. So he's trying to get ever ahead in the drone count, even if it's only for a second or two. He has actually been successful at that. He's had a couple of bumps in that income. And now we have that transition over into roaches. Reynor doing the far more anticipated +1 missile, usually leading into more of the macro game as well, making a +2 missile and the Carapace much later on. But Elazer adds on that Carapace, and you were just talking about this maybe a bit later than you were anticipating, but that can contribute, it does contribute to both Lings and roaches, and can contribute especially to a mid-game all-in.
Yeah, Elazer really likes to go for that Carapace. It's like his own stylistic thing. Yeah, it makes me curious. I mean, obviously, he could still add one more Evo and then get, you know, Missile if he just wants to play the longer game with double upgrades. But yeah, you're right. When I see that, I'm like, he might just get a lot of roaches. Oh my god, the Banelings. Almost connected here. Elazer has to be really careful. It's going to be another one of those, you know, like Disruptor against Disruptor. It's like Bane against Lynx. Oh, every moment you're just like shouting.
Exactly, because while we are moving over into some roach play, you know, Elazer actually not going for a lair, is just making nonstop roaches. These lings are still important. If Reynor is kept back at home, not thinking about scouting, that could have been a really big opportunity for Elazer, but Reynor's too good for that. He does sneak in a couple of lings, and I think he saw at least some of the roaches pop. Of course, his Overlord has seen it at this point, and he is forced to prepare to defend, but on such a short map, with such late notice, I'm not sure it's going to be possible. Spinecrawlers are making it a natural, as Reynor, I think, has to be prepared to give up his third base.
Yeah, the Banes are coming in. Really good job by Elazer of pulling back his own lings here to make sure those Banes of Reynor didn't connect, but he was 42 drones against 61. That means there's much more army supply for Elazer right now by about 20. He's going to get on top of the Spinecrawler at the expansion that's building. Two of them finished behind the wall. Reynor, he needs to even just barely hold, but the drones at the third base are going to go down, I think. He's going to lose so much.
A lot of drones going down. They try to retreat, and some of them do make it out, but of course that third hatchery does die. As I said, Reynor kind of had to let that one go. It seems very unlikely that he was going to be able to defend that, but perhaps if he can defend his natural, he can somehow wiggle his way out of this scenario. The only thing he really has going for him is that he has a lair, so he's, you know, trying to set up roach speed, but actually that roach warren is definitely a target for Elazer. And Elazer, of course, is not just trying to win the game. He's not going to push the issue when it might be just a little bit shy of actual victory, and also grab a lair, +1, missile, and drones. He does actually go for the attack, gets the lings into the natural and then into the main, which might just do enough damage to really solidify this win if it wasn't already. Reynor is at least tackling the frontline roaches.
Yeah, I think he just saw that he had enough. Reynor, with all the extra resources, since he can't make roach for a while, he starts +2 missile. That's pretty ambitious. I guess if it finishes, he's going to be happy about it. But yeah, Reynor down to 35 walkers against 57. And the route to victory here for Elazer is like so straightforward. You don't even need to do anything special at all. You just pump out a ton of roaches. You get a big supply lead, and then you re-attack when the opponent's about to have a third base again.
Pretty much going to be the timing I expect. It is going to be very easy math here for Elazer. He's going to be able to look at his number of roaches, look at Reynor's number of roaches, and easily decide to take that engagement. Since there's no change up in the composition, Reynor wasn't trying to sneak in a Spire, and that's why he took damage, right? Yeah. We really are talking about numbers, you know, and then at that point, the only difference maker is like concaves. Maybe number of like Ravagers can be an issue as well, but clearly Reynor is going to have trouble affording a lot of roaches, much less a lot of Ravagers.
Elazer actually sent his Overseer all the way into the main base, which died just now. I think he just wanted to make sure there was no crazy play, like, you know, Spire or something like that. You never know. And you know how when you're playing, you can't see the opponent's supply. You can't look at the supply. Well, right now, Elazer, I'm pretty sure he could. Just by flying in, he just eyeballs the drone counts, how many roaches there were. And he's like, okay, well, I just got way too much for you. It's 100 army to 70 right now. And I think he's about to move in as that third base will finish, which really is the perfect timing, because that's only at that moment that the opponent will start using that to get extra income.
Yeah, can't even really have time to build spine crawlers if they could afford it, which Reynor really can. He needs all of his drones as drones. Even losing 3 more is pretty much catastrophic for a guy in Reynor's position. He is going to try and take one hell of an engagement, down 40 supply, but at least he's going to have that +2 missile done, so the upgrades have kind of evened up. Elazer is not going to wait for his. It'll eventually kick in. He doesn't have to wait. I mean, he's maxed out. It'll eventually kick in. He'll still have his 4 bases, and he'll just remax again once he actually has the upgrade lead. So the world is Elazer's oyster. He's going to split up his forces, which is something that Reynor absolutely cannot deal with as well as he might try. And this game is definitely going to Elazer.
Yeah, he moved back on the right-hand side here. There were a lot of roaches of Reynor in position, but he can wrap back around. Reynor doing his best here, but not enough army. Elazer wins game number 1 after very strong timing here.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I said a mid game, but it was honestly that's early game. I think it hit like around 6 minutes. It was a very fast attack, not just because it was on Lightshade, one of the shorter maps in the map pool, but also because it was so swift. You know, like it was just it felt like Elazer got to execute his plan perfectly. He controlled the situation with the Lings, got a slight economic lead because he made drones first. And then, yeah, started up that +1 Carapace, which you can't tell. You can't see on the Evolution Chamber what they're building, which might hint at their plans for the future. So despite Reynor getting fairly consistent scouting, he was pretty good about getting his Lings in. The specific Lings that I was talking about, I think they got in too late. You know, if they're scouting it as the roaches are showing underneath your Overlord, that's not a fast enough scout for Reynor to respond. Not when he's droned up to 61 drones.
Yeah, that's the difficult part of Zerg when playing against another Zerg and Protoss, I would say in particular against Giants. So more straightforward is to know if they're playing aggressive or if they're playing greedy. Usually there is an in-between, but usually it's kind of one or the other. In this case, yeah, Elazer was not getting drones. He just wanted to get a lot of units and attack. And if you just see that even a few seconds too late, then you're already pretty much out of there. Like if you go up to, what was it, like 60 plus drones against 40 plus, it's so many units that you're missing to have the defense. And he did a pretty good job of trying to get spine up, some spine crawlers up at the expansion, but there was just too much roaches for him to be able to handle. And you can't even really pull the drones, like with them being really effective. They will just die instantly, do almost nothing in the fight. Maybe he should have done that a little bit better. It seems difficult. It feels like he was just won the moment Elazer was scouted a little too late with the production of units here.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like as soon as Reynor made the additional 10 drones, whatever that boosted him above 60, it was kind of like, oh, that might be it. So Elazer takes a nice, swift, kind of easy victory for game one, but I'm sure this guy will have something to say in return. In the bottom left for Team Clash, he is Reynor.
His opponent is looking to play aggressive yet again in the reds, representing XCOM ago. It's Elazer.
Well, Reynor is sometimes the type of guy to get bopped, get bamboozled, and then, you know, chuckle and then say, okay, I'm going to do the same exact thing to you. Like, he sometimes actually is that guy who wants to prove he's not just better in general, but better even at specific things that were thrown his way. So I would not be surprised to see Reynor try and do something actually very close to what Elazer does in one of these games, as most of us predicted that it would be a very close series, you know, all 5 games. 5 different builds, a lot of variety should be coming in, especially with the variety of maps that we have. I am glad to see that Blackburn with the new maps and unique maps was not vetoed. You know, I wasn't surprised by Beckett just because I think that would be very volatile, but Blackburn also has its weirdness.
It's interesting that Elazer was the one to kind of go on the aggression first last game with the amount of links that he made, which he didn't really overcommit to. And as you said, you know, Reynor might have been the one that was overreacting with getting a few too many links and banes to this. Maybe he was just worried there was going to be a constant flood. So he misread the game twice, I guess, technically, in that first game. But Elazer goes back to the standard build, which here is always going to be hatch 16, gas 18, then pull. And usually they'll try and scout as much as he can, as anybody should, then throw down the 3rd hatchery, and immediately after, that's when he goes for the Evo for the Carapace, which I'm curious if he's going to mix in any other upgrades and builds, or if it's going to be Carapace the whole way for him.
It very well could. I mean, it can be stylistic. It doesn't have to go into that specific push, or even into a 1-1 push. Can be a later timing as well with actual roach speed. I mean, yeah, it could actually go into a macro game, as Elazer does like to play a bit differently. But if I see a +1 Carapace fast, I'm going to assume that it's going to lead into some aggression, as that is also just how Elazer loves to play this. He likes to control the situation. But Reynor loves to be tricky. Despite having, you know, some of the most solid fundamentals and understanding, he can also be a trickster. So we have a 2-base layer underway. And this is going to be tough for Elazer to actually scout what this really means. He'll know, because Reynor is going to be on 2 bases when, you know, you just look at your own 3rd timing and you compare it to theirs. It's not there. You know, they're 2 basing. They got to get a lair. Question is, what is it? Is it a Nidus Worm? Is it a Spire? Is it some weird 2-base all-in that we don't see very often, but I guess can happen? That doesn't include a Nidus Worm? You know, it's something that you want to try and see, but you shouldn't be able to. Not with Queens pushing back your Overlords.
Yeah, there's many options. It's so tricky to get the perfect scout. Like Reynor, we see is being very diligent with what he needs to do. There's the wall at the expo with the 2 queens, the Evo, and the Roach Warren. And it is Carapace yet again here for Elazer. Elazer, you know, I mentioned his builds. It's kind of predictable. Like I said, you know, there's always the 3rd hatchery, the Evo, Carapace, then he has the Roach Warren. Reynor, if he's done very strong research here and he knows about that, I was actually wondering what would be one of the best things to do to try and counter that style. And I thought that Mutas might be a good option because you really take the initiative out of the opponent's hands. But in this game so far, there we go. The Spire goes down and everything looks kind of normal, so to speak, with the wall at the expansion, with the Roach Warren and double Evo. But at the same time, it doesn't really, like, you're not sure.
You just can't know as a laser. Even if things are wiggly jiggly on the front, it could be +1 melee, not +1 missile, which is exactly what it is. If the Roach Warren is wiggly jiggly, then yeah, they could actually even invest fully into Roach speed because they plan on either transitioning out later, or they really want to convince you with the fake and are willing to take away an entire muta just to really convince you. But if I see that canceled, I wouldn't be surprised either. But that's exactly what a laser is paying attention to. It's the only thing you can really pay attention to. He shouldn't be able to get an overload on the main. His Ling should not bypass these queens. You can't see the amount of gases, so you just got to be paying attention to what the frontline structures are doing. Now Elazer has been pushed away. His speed finally kicks in for Reynor, after that was a lot later, and his +1 melee is also going to be kicking in about 15-20 seconds. So Elazer does need to get a few more units out. He's got Lings and Roaches, and his own +1 Carapace is also close to finishing. So these Lings are not a true threat, but they are pushing Elazer back from any scouting.
Yeah, this is another beautiful mind game here. As an Overlord is about to fly into the main base, there's nothing to see there actually. But now, I think a Link sneaked to the expo and he saw the Spire. And yeah, Reynor was, oh my god, he brought him out of position. The Links actually find damage in the 3rd base. That's a very big deal here. Elazer not quite on point with the positioning. But yeah, great mind game of, it almost feels like it's, you know, this, you know, the cup game where there's like 3 cups, you need to guess on the which, you know, there is something. It's kind of like that. And like, if you keep getting it wrong, then you're going to keep losing $10 at a time. But in this case, you know, you're losing the economy. It's more than $10 here with everything that you're losing. And you just keep on falling further and further behind. Now, Reynor with his Sling aggression, he kind of took Elazer's minds off of Mutas for a little bit. Now the Mutas come out on the map. And now that's something that he has to worry about. And then where's the transition? Do we see a lot of Roaches? Usually that would be the standard. Elazer might be focusing exclusively on the Mutas for now.
Well, yeah, which, I mean, a decent number of queens, a handful of Spore Crawlers are going to cover you against the initial amount, but then, yeah, determining is it actually mass muta, is there a transition, that becomes the next difficult part for the defender, as well as getting a 4th base. That's actually what a lot of these types of games can come down to. Does the defending Roach Hydra player, or Roach Infestor, or whatever he goes for first, do they actually manage to grab a 4th base? Because 3 bases, if they're not taking any trades, that will support them for a while. But then if they're going to struggle to get a 4th base, if they try and fail repeatedly, that's when I think Reynor is going to feel very comfortable about this game. But honestly, since Reynor has survived to the point where his bases are saturating, he's getting his own 4th, he's getting a lot of mutas, I think he's already in his comfort zone. This is where he wanted to get to.
Yeah, the extractors on the 3rd base are a little delayed. I think he just wanted to make sure he made enough units as to not take any damage for a very long time here. And yeah, we have Hive on the way now for Elazer. Hydralis then as well is getting triple Infestor without Pathogen Glands. And on the other side, Reynor's the one also building up his economy a pretty good amount. He's still adding a few mutas for some reason. I thought he would have already cut, but he's up to 15 and he's got 2 more about to come out. So he might be the one staying on Lair Tech, just getting a lot of units and then attacking.
That's what we should expect if we continue seeing Ling Baneling, which he's, you know, adding on the Baneling that's now. So his difficult hooks won't be impactful for quite some time, which means Elazer is not going to be maxed out, but he's going to have a pretty sturdy army with fungals, because he got the investors just waiting for them to get the energy, and possibly even actually already into that hive. Maybe even some lurkers. Of course, Elazer knows on 3 bases he can't really afford everything in the kitchen sink. But if he plays his cards right and doesn't take any damage, which he's been good about the last 3 or 4 minutes, then he can afford actually a lot of stuff on 3 bases. But it really requires no slip-ups. Which, you know, it's been fine so far. Reynor's really found not many openings.
Can we check the difference in vision real quick? Because Reynor sees basically the entire map, thanks to his Overlord, whereas Elazer is cooped up on 3 bases. He sees absolutely nothing. He doesn't even have any links moving out. He's so scared right now. He's just spamming spores everywhere and camping with his queens and roaches. He's so convinced that Reynor will attack him, but out of Reynor, I'm not actually sure exactly right now what's happening. He's still making units. He keeps on delaying the attack that we think is going to be coming more and more. We got a lot of links morphing on the right-hand side, so Reynor's finally going to set up the attack. And I think he might fly into the natural with the Mutas, try and bring the army out of position, and then sending the Banes on that right-hand side base, which now are coming in. Infestor, can he land the fungal on time? That would be huge.
He's just going to go for the wall and hold on to the fungal, which I kind of like. I mean, it takes a lot of Banelings to kill queens or roaches, especially if they're going to transfuse. So, I mean, energy is usually not of consequence, you know, like throw out a fungal, it'll replenish, right? But I actually really like that he held on to it. Now, granted, it might have been a mistake. Maybe he didn't hockey them, but I think he actually held on to it knowing they're going to be more necessary to combo with the parasitic bomb against the mutas, as they are in a number that is truly threatening. Elazer, as you're pointing out, doesn't have much scouting, doesn't have really any map vision aside from these roaches kind of doing a little bit of scouting on their own. But I think he's gotten enough intel, just a little bit. Oh, Baneling's actually rolling into the drones. Oh, a little late on that pull. 17 drones go down. So anyways, to know that Reynor is actually going for this mass muta, nothing but, you know, attack style. And now he's even more convinced after he's been attacked, and sees nothing but mutas and lings. 17 drones going down is a slip up there, but Elazer might be able to recover.
So it kind of feels like Elazer was very well prepared for this, because he went for Vipers, he camped really hard on 3 bases, so it made it harder to attack him because he wasn't on 4 bases. Now that he finally tries to go for it, Reynor shuts it down immediately. And Seismic Spines was researched here for Elazer, who's finally into lurker tech now. When do you want to move out and attack, though? That's the thing, because Reynor is massively out-expanding Elazer right now. Okay, Fungal will slow down those Banes enough that they don't connect into drones this time around. But in terms of tech, it feels like Reynor's kind of stuck in the Stone Age, and Elazer, like, you know, he's got the Westworld technology at this point with like the flying cars and everything.
yeah, he does. I mean, that's what you're supposed to do. As the defending Zerg player is trying not to take any damage, as you are going to find difficulty grabbing a 4th. It's only just now trying to come down after being canceled once. So at least you have good technology and a very strong army to take really good trades. But, oh, actually, some Festers, I think they were looking for some mutas passing by. One goes down, Queen's going down as well. Elazer, a little sloppy on the take of the 4th, but yeah. High technology, very good trades against the attacking Zerg player, Reynor in this case, who's willing to throw away wave after wave of units because, well, he can replenish them, but not that many units. The fungal parasitic bomb combination is popping off, and that is a lot of mutas going to go down. The last few barely able to escape. That's the regen kicking in. But now we are down to just 10 mutas, which is a much better task of dealing with than the 20 plus that he had. But of course, Reynor, well, you don't want to lose your mutas like that so quickly. He is in a position to let it go, and he doesn't have to have a big old funeral for him. He's already on a Hydra, he's already on a Vipers, whatever he wants to do. Probably going to go into his own lurkers. I do think a lot of Zerg players have gotten pretty shy about ending games like this with Ultras, so I actually really like that Reynor is just transitioning into his own lurker play.
Okay, up until this point, Reynor had only lost Lings and Banes, and then now he lost 17 mutas at once, so he did free some supply. It's kind of hard to decide exactly what to go for and how to attack. Ideally against lurkers, you want to outmaneuver the opponent, you kind of want to attack where they're not, but they're a little bit everywhere here. Elazer's playing really defensive, he understands that he's probably being out-expanded heavily, but as long as he can max out and build a very strong army to fight with, he's actually done way less workers as well, 71. So if he just maxes out on pure army, he's going to have quite a bit of army supply leads. And with the higher tier units that he had up until now, he was doing really well. But Reynor's definitely catching up now at this point. I'm surprised we don't have a Creator Spire yet, but everything else is there, really. He's getting Seismic Spines he just completed and queuing all the upgrades in the game, including the very scary Adrenal Glands in his head, in his hands, because he's so good with Lings.
Ling run-by is becoming very deadly with the adrenal glands, and as the game continues to be about expansions, then yeah, they're going to be pretty important, pretty devastating. Elazer has done a great job surviving up to the point of max with the still better army since he has the upgrades, but right, Reynor is catching up, and Reynor still has all this map control, all these bases that he could actually afford to lose before he really has to start to worry about the game. There's one of those Ling run-bys heading into the main base, not with adrenal glands, however, so I don't think they'll be taking out any structures, but that is going to be a definite threat when the adrenal glands kicks in. Now I think Elazer has actually gotten vision on his opponent's composition, realizing, yeah, I did transfer into a Lurker Viper. Expected, as I said. I think people are not trying to with Ultras anymore. That's been a mistake in a lot of other previous EVZs. But yeah, he's got the confirmation. And now we get some really fun, sometimes stalemate, but oftentimes just a lot of action. Lurker phase. Lurker Viper is actually... Lurker Viper Hydra really is what it comes down to after a point. They're going to get rid of all their roaches. Is one of the funnest late games I think that we can actually have, especially between two guys that should both be doing these types of run-bys now that Elazer is able to finally break free.
Yeah, Elazer actually, he used this army at the top to bring Reynor out of position, and now he's going to siege towards the bottom. He needed to start being aggressive sometime soon here, because Elazer, being on 4 bases, he's on 8 extractors against 13. And he has been for a while. Oh my god, these abducts are huge here. Catch some of these lurkers. But Elazer still has a lot left over. The bank in Reynor's favor, but like I said before, usually that favors Elazer if he can max out in terms of army supply. And he shuts down 4 of the extractors mining here of Reynor at the bottom side of the map. So Reynor is still 1 extractor ahead from the top expansion that he has.
I do believe Reynor would want to have held on to those bases for a little while, really start the defense a little bit more forward, because he really did just lose 2 bases pretty easily, but at least going to grab some abducts in return, abducting each other, and I think Elazer just had more Vipers to start off with, so he does end up winning the Viper War, I guess we'll call it, right there, but is going to respect Reynor's max out potential and pull back, but take down that base to the right side. Reynor not just looking to remax quickly, still has Mutas going for a kill on Elazer's would-be 6th base. Actually, Elazer taking a fifth at one of the rich Vespian geysers on this map, sometimes forgotten, to be honest. A little bit of a scuffle in the middle of the map has gone poorly for Elazer since the Vipers were around for Reynor, but Elazer, I think, was dealing with other things.
Yeah, great micro, actually. Like, he did a very good job turning around when he was... Yeah, see, every time a lurker comes forward by itself, Elazer is on point, sniping that and then immediately pulling back. But right now, Elazer doesn't really have any lurkers, whereas on Reynor's side, we got a bunch of them sieging, 4 in total in that location. It's so hard for Elazer to fight effectively against this. He needs abducts. He's going to regroup with the Vipers, those Spores. I guess buying a little bit of time as well, because Reynor's not sure whether there is lurkers already burrowed there. And Hydra's at the top hunting down the Mutas, which did escape.
Some more abducts being used to clean up the potential harassment. Elazer's lurkers were still on the front lines, and he remembered, tried to use them. Didn't really work out, but he's replaced the lurkers as well. So we're at a actually a situation where Elazer has lurkers and Reynor simply doesn't, but they're both remaking them. Reynor still with a lot of bank in minerals and in gas. Elazer struggling a bit more on that front. Needs to be careful with the further engagements. The minerals are okay, but it's not like he's the one that has adrenal glands and Ling upgrades, right? So he's not even really going to be effectively using that big Ling bank, mineral bank. He needs gas. And finally, he's able to get that rich Vespian geyser. But Reynor's been on it for a while.
Oh, the hatchery on the right side?
Denying any harassment.
Hatchery? Oh! Oh my god. Woo! 31 hit points. He almost drained that to death.
Oh, I was like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, no. I was looking at the hatchery from mid hit points. I'm like, he's not going to stop, is he? Is he?
That would have been a little embarrassing. But Elazer is once again attacking through this area. I think just realizing there wasn't a lot of vision here, and there really isn't. Just an overlord over to the right side, and the Xel'Naga is under Elazer's control. But Elazer, you know, he just got a unit up to the top left, and seeing that Reynor is still happily mining from the rich Vespian geyser, he doesn't even know about the very, very top left, but he might assume. Because, of course, Reynor from the get-go has had more bases, more opportunity, and Elazer, it's great that he got those 2 bases in one fell swoop like he did. I think he needs more. That gas is just so concerning.
And those mutas in the main were actually really annoying.
Oh my god.
Almost killed the
Hyper. Oh my god, there's a lot of Hyper ducks.
Oh yeah, in the center. He used that. Oh, he knew that Elazer was going to be looking at the top of the mutas, and Reynor jumped on the opportunity of catching this army in the center. It's actually super sick, because Elazer was trying to go for a sandwich at the top on the army that was there, but an overlord of Reynor spotted this army. So then he was 3 steps ahead. He's like, he's going to be looking in his main. There's mutas annoying him. I'm going to jump on top of this army. And Reynor, big supply leads. He's the one with the bigger bank. And he's pushing through in that very important base now.
Yeah, this is a super important base. Elazer can't give it up. He also can't give up all these Vipers. He absolutely cannot replace them with the gas bait that he has. That is going to be game, I believe. Reynor with one little push there manages to take an amazing engagement. As you said, Elazer was distracted. His army was a bit all over the place. He wasn't fully prepared. And even though he did micro, his Vipers were abducting to start things off. He didn't have enough Hydras to actually kill the Vipers he abducted anyways. So it just started off super poorly for Elazer, and it hasn't ended very pretty either. He loses the Rich Vespian Geyser. He does manage to hold on to the bottom right, but that's also been scouted, so it feels like a matter of time before that's killed.
Elazer, his economy took a big hit here with him losing that base. He's retaking it immediately, but if we look at the income, he's got about half right now, both on mineral and gas, than his opponent. Reynor doing such a good job just to keep expanding towards the top at this stage. There was so much multitasking happening here. Super smart moves from both sides, but Reynor, really that catch in the center. Elazer, I think, just wasn't ready, and he paid a high price for it here. Now he's 120 supply against 197. Yeah, good luck holding. Yes, you have lurkers and some force, but those Vipers, they can put in work.
Yeah, Viper is absolutely instrumental to this composition. And with none, Elazer is going to have to tap out. Reynor playing a great example of the composition he was working with there. It was a little less action-y than I would have expected. Reynor kind of did like 2 big Baneling roll-ins, but still controlled the game, finished it off with that Hive Tech, played wonderfully with Lurker Viper, and that shows his prowess in the macro game. With game 2 now done and an even score, we are going to go to a break before we get to game 3, but don't go anywhere. When we return, it's more Elazer versus Reynor. The series is all tied up, and that's exactly the way that we like it. After a late game macro ZVZ, Reynor comes out on top. And now we head into Blackburn, which is a map that I always find interesting. I hate playing on it, but I love watching it. And I really want to see what ZVZ looks like.
All right, let's jump right into it then. See if we see another similar game. And that seems unlikely. And starting at the bottom right-hand side of the map, playing as the Red Zerg from Italy and playing for Team Clash, it's Reynor.
And to the bottom left, going for that 12 pull, it is XCOM Ego Elazer.
Playing a bit of mind games here. An aggressive build coming up from the Polish Zerg. That last game was crazy. There was so much happening everywhere. I gotta say, these consume are starting to really scare me from the Vipers. Because there was, you know, a hatchery that almost died, some Evo that died, like an extractor that almost died. And these are really not the buildings you want to lose either, right? I guess you don't really want to lose any buildings, but you know, I guess maybe if you get a Baneling nest early on, you can afford to lose that one. So I'm surprised that they didn't go for extra Evos, but we might not see any of that here in this game as Elazer is opening with 6 Lings.
He likes his aggression. And this map, it's actually not that short main to main, which is most important when we're talking about these types of openers. We have the drones pulled as well, but it is one of the new maps. It can be tricky. The overlords actually can be avoided, as we see here. It takes a couple extra seconds, but it is going to be successful. So now Reynor is not going to know this is happening until the overlord sees no hatchery. It might even see some lings. Oh, just shy of it. So yeah, just not until the hatchery isn't there. So that is about the last second notice you could possibly have. Not mentally prepared, but it's not like he could really change up his build that much. Here we go. Reynor, now he knows. And now, what does he do?
Usually you get triple spine here on the high grounds. And the best way to defend for Reynor is to buy some time, get some lings, and then transfer the drones to the expansion. He's going to try and defend in the main base, looks like. That could be a big mistake. Elazer had a sick hold against this build against Bly, and that was through evacuating the main base and going to the expo, but it was super close.
It was close, and it was just like a testament to how patient Elazer can be. Let's see if Reynor also makes the right decisions. He's going to pull the drones in as his lings pop, but the spine crawlers are finishing, man, and the fight doesn't look like it's going well enough. Not yet anyways, but maybe it's getting better, actually. Elazer needs to go back to his spine crawlers, which are done, starting to take out some of the drones as they try to evacuate to the natural, but Elazer's already on it. He's already pulling some of his spine crawlers down there, while his units actually take on the building spine crawler. Reynor has one in the main base that will protect his drone line for a bit, but things certainly have gotten awkward, and it looks like Reynor actually will protect this fairly. He'll protect that natural spine crawler.
Yeah, but he can't, like those drones, they're gonna keep on going to the mineral patches where the spine could attack them. That's a big problem. He can't really affect that too much. I guess maybe if he puts on the current patches that he has, but then both hatcheries are on the siege. Reynor, he might be mining enough here that he can get a bunch of units to then fight against the spines effectively to get rid of them. That would be a very sick hold if he was able to get that. I kind of thought he was out of it, the way he tried to defend it, but he's still in it.
Yeah, he's definitely going to make an effort. He's got a little bit of time to build up an army, because of course if he builds up an army, that defeats everything.
Oh, the main hatch?
It'd be an awfully weird game, but it could happen. Main hatch does look like it's going to fall. There's not much that Reynor can do about it. He's going to try and pull at the last second and maybe save it, maybe use the broodlings as well. But Elazer retargets on top of the units, and that spine crawler of Reynor should also be targeted. Queen's going to go down, just barely not actually. So she does have a transfuse. But is that what most matters? In the natural, it looks like Reynor was able to take out a spine crawler of Elazer. As Elazer actually pulls back a spine crawler, the spine crawler micro happening. But Reynor is going to lose access to his main base. That's the hatchery down. That's the spawning pool gone. And now he's only in the natural. And he can't build any more lings. He can't build any queens. What's that spine crawler? Actually, he's not going to go for it. He's not. Elazer's going to pull the second spine crawler down to try and actually finish things off. But I think Reynor has enough. There's just literally one spine crawler. Reynor takes game 3. And one of the longest battles we've seen when it comes to a 12-pull drone pool.
And he was all smiles here at the end of that game, just ecstatic about the result. That would have been terrible. Imagine going down 1 and 2 in a series after this. I really thought he was in big trouble. Elazer, he he delayed the targeting of the hatchery in the main base for a very long time. I think he was afraid of the broodlings. It kind of feels like if he had done just slightly better, that would have worked. But Reynor, I gotta applaud him. That was really, really clutch here. Just one more mistake, one single small mistake, and he would have been down 1 and 2, which is not the way you want things to go in the best of 5.
Honestly, if that natural spine crawler, right, had actually not been able to get up, as healthy as it was too, like it only took like 20% damage. I think that's one of the biggest differences. But those games can look so odd, and the reactions can be so different so quick, right? Like initially the reaction might be agreed upon, right? Like pull the drones, wait for your lings, pull the drones. But when things get topsy-turvy like that, when you've lost just enough drones, or you've lost too many lings, or your spawning pool is too vulnerable, or something along those lines, it gets weird. It's a unique game every single time. But Reynor comes out ahead, so that puts him at 2-1 over Elazer. Elazer, I don't know. He tries it, right? And it's definitely worth trying, but now he's on his last life.
It makes me curious, the mindset exactly. Obviously, it's probably like a build that he thought was very good on this map because you'd get scouted so late. Like, I mean, Reynor didn't even really know about it up until the links were on his expansion and then inside of the main base. But also, if you think about what's happened game 1, Elazer was playing very aggressive. You know, he won a not so long game. Game 2, we went into a longer game where technically he was ahead technologically, but he couldn't quite move out. And then as we reached that stage of, 5-6 bases, he kind of got outmaneuvered around the map. So it's almost like, do I really want to play that longer game against somebody as good as Reynor, who makes like so many smart things happen for him? So yeah, I'm curious whether Elazer slows down or if he goes, still very aggressive in the next map again.
That is a fair question. If Elazer actually believes that Reynor will outplay him in the late game, you don't want to get there, right? But and then again, I feel like Elazer, despite known for his aggressiveness, and he's the one that's going to go for like the mid game attacks and the 12 pulls. I think he does have a lot of skill in that late game. It was just already a very tough game 2 for him because he had been contained for so long, and I don't think that's where he thrives. So I don't know. Like I think he will be aggressive, but maybe in this game it'll be more of an aggressive to control situation because that's what really worked out well for him in the first game, which was his victory.
All right, let's jump into Jagannatha then for our map number 4. Let's see if perhaps this player up there can close things out. He's up 2-1 in the Reds, playing for Team Clash. It's Reynor.
And in the bottom left, repping XCOM's Ago, he is Elazer.
Reynor is jamming super hard in the start of this game, and it kind of looks like he's saying the same thing. So I wonder if it might be the same song starting at the exact same time and he's going through the same lyrics that he knows by head. Could be. if you got this one song, that puts you in a good mood, why not?
Funnily enough, I think it was Fear Dragon on Sunday's cast who brought up that like there's an idea posted somewhere where like you would just play the same song for the same game. Yeah, maybe it was Saturday actually. And I was like, this sounds eerily close to that. Could Reynor actually be doing it? Is Fear Dragon actually a genius yet again?
When he said that, I was like, I didn't say anything, but I thought in my head, that seems a little bit far-fetched, but who knows, maybe, Because I think he was saying like maybe there's like a whole playlist that just gives you like visual cues of like what you need to start through your whole builds. If you're gonna do that, you might as well have like a voice, that's like, it's minute 4, it's time to start your upgrades. Like,
I know, right? Why play a song when you could just actually make your own like audio clip of you being like, yeah, make your upgrades now, dummy. Probably be equally as good. And I think
I would need a very specific one which every 15 seconds would remind me, make pylons.
Yeah, that's the one everyone needs actually. And double up your pylons as well, Artosis, right? We got ourselves a normal opening on Jagannatha. So I do expect that 3 hatch to 3 hatch. And Reynor, I think he's mostly just jamming along. He seems to always increase in jams with his increase in points in the overall score. So if he's winning, he's really grooving. And if he's losing, it's like a determined type of gritty determination, and he's just like kind of muttering to himself. That's what I've noticed anyways. The dissection of the cams, guys. That's what happens in the first 3 minutes of his EDZ.
zombie grub the face reader. You can just do it all, can't you?
Truly, truly. I'm detecting from Elazer's face that he feels the exact same as he felt 2 minutes ago. He has not changed.
Elazer got a great poker face. I wouldn't want to play poker against him. I just wouldn't even know what he holds.
I'm starting to wonder if that's just a still frame, honestly. Very good posture then, kudos to him. So, all right. 2 Baneliness coming down, no attempt to skip. So we might have just the tiniest little bit of a scuffle. Sometimes when this happens, you do have both of them just agree to move on into roaches. As yes, no one has really gained an advantage yet.
It might be because the way the map is, around the third base being super open and the expansion, you kind of need somewhat of a big wall. It's not that easy to close necessarily. But Elazer's not gone for the Evo and Carapace here. He went for Painting Nest. He's making a lot of links. And, I asked that, like, how aggressive is he really going to want to play here? Because Reynor in the longer game has looked really good. He looked very good against the straight cheese. So you kind of need to find the in-between, maybe, and be aggressive. Not the super early, but, like, immediately after. Okay, we found that you have the Evo. I'm very curious. Like, Elazer, this could just be a few links to pressure, like we saw in game 1. So he forces an overreaction out of Reynor, and then he gets an economical advantage from this. Or it could be more aggression, but he's getting 9 more drones now.
Yeah, I think this is just one of those tests that have to happen in ZVZ. Occasionally, they both realize, like, oh, you're building a Baneliness, I'm building a Baneliness, like, let's just move on. But usually it is like that 12 to, 16 links, and then scuffles, If you do gain an advantage, I would actually say that most people don't even expect it. The advantage can be so small, they don't bother actually reinforcing at the very least. They're moving on to +1 Missile, which they both are getting. They're moving on into a Roach Warren. Take that back, actually. Elazer changing his mind here, had +1 Missile, 100%. I'm not crazy. Then momentarily started up melee and was like, you know what? Nah, Lair first.
Yeah, he's changing his mind quite a bit. He actually sneaked 2 links inside of the main base of Reynor, and he saw no tech yet. Actually, he didn't really see the hatchery somehow. Never mind. He was trying to sneak those links there to morph 2 banelings and then blow up some drones, but Reynor very nicely chased that perfectly, got rid of it. And Elazer opting, to go for a lair first.
I like it. Because I think he with his scouting, he has realized that he is not going to be under a lot of pressure, or at least pressure that he can't stop, right? If Reynor was not getting a lair, was actually waiting for like a carapace to finish, for instance, and was building roaches, well, that might be a bit difficult to hold. But I think Elazer is scouted enough to say, especially with these 2 banelings, like nothing's on the way. I am going to be able to get away with the Spire. And I like that. That's even though it didn't look like a strong decision because there was the cancellations, I still think it was a strong decision. He just had to make it kind of work with the gas that he had already acquired. So there is the lair, then the Spire, +1 melee is also on the way. And Elazer will even keep up a little bit of aggression too. Once again, maybe trying to get Reynor either to make a mistake, of course, and not respond appropriately, which is kind of happening right now, or to simply have him not scout that Spire. Elazer actually going to get 2 banelings into that third base. How much are they going to be able to get? They actually go after the Lings. So that means the Queen will fall, and the Lings might be able to kill drones afterwards anyway. Nah, Reynor's finally got enough.
Yeah, Reynor with some great micro here against the Banes in particular. Really ran away when he needed to with the drones, with the Lynx. Elazer still right out there. He's morphing 1 Bane. It's almost suspicious because it kind of looks like a fake, but there's actually a lot of links coming in. Reynor is trying to morph 2 of his own Banings. They're about to finish next to the links here. Well, actually, they're not even needed.
Yeah, they're not needed. It's still a bit scary. As Elazer, you're right. He has more Lings on the way. They're not being seen by Reynor, though, until pretty last second, which is a bit of a disappointment. His overload just simply isn't over the attack path. But I think a lot more importantly, Reynor was busy defending kind of last second, having to micro his drones. He wasn't necessarily seeing the Spire timing. He did see the lair timing. So with that quick of a lair, I think he's kind of figured things out, of course. But he doesn't know exactly those meters are going to hit. 12 of them already on the way. His Spore Crawlers still perfectly timed despite lacking a bit of knowledge. And Reynor is going to be able to hold, but now it is his turn to be defending. We have the swap scenario of game 2.
Yeah, we were talking about it in a pre-show. Like, you need to be on point here. And with the reads and everything, like Reynor, he didn't see the Spire, but he saw a lot of Lings and Banes. He saw 0 Roaches, so he's just adding it up all together. And he's like, okay, well, something's missing. You're probably going Mutas. So he plays it safe, starts a lot of Spores. And as you said, yeah, they're going to be on time to help and defend. And now Elazer is the one creating a lot of chaos with those mutas. He's going to shut down the entire map vision of Reynor out on the map. And from there, I can decide, do I do a follow-up timing on Lair Tech with a lot of units? Or do I go into Hive Tech like we saw earlier out of Reynor that way?
We already have one way of playing out the Muta Ling Baneling. We saw how it worked out. Reynor did commit, you know, about 2 decently sized attack of Banelings, but then he ultimately was going to play into that late game. Elazer, he could play even harder into the Ling Baneling Muta attacks, and I think his upgrades are better timed out for it. I'm not 100% on that, but his centrifugal hooks seem to be better timed out. Of course, he started with a Baneling nest, whereas Reynor in game 2 had to skip it to keep up the illusion of roaches. So there is an attack on the way. It is not going to have Baneling speed. I mean, I think Elazer actually is going to wait for it and just continue building up a lot of units exactly. Reynor has no idea what he's planning exactly. His overlords have been killed, but it seems like he oh my god, has a beautiful defense. 2 Banelings from Reynor doing perfectly.
That was like, what, 2 Banelings killed like 12 of them? That was the most cost-effective trade I've seen in a while. Banelings coming in, but Queen's defending on their own right now. Elazer is not getting cost-effective trade, but he's still ahead in supply and taking 1 more base currently, as is Reynor. Slightly under this area. 4 Vipers on the way. And we've seen how quickly those mutas can disappear once Parasitic Bomb is used.
It was looking like he was trying to weaken the Queens so his mutas could eventually reign supreme, but I also think he was hoping that Hydras weren't quite out, or the Spore Crawler count wouldn't quite be good enough, and unfortunately that hasn't worked out here. The Queen number is still at least available, but the Hydra numbers are a little weak. They have a lot of Spore Crawlers to go back to, so Elazer, I think he was really trying to bust down the anti-air. It hasn't quite worked yet, but he does have a lot of the economy behind this. The whole point is that he can continue to do this and hopefully wear Reynor out or catch him out of position, which these Lings absolutely do, and then run into a couple of Banelings. But at least he got that hatchery.
Some beautiful splits so far from Reynor on the 3rd base, but this time not good enough, actually. The previous one was really good. But he loses 21 drones, and Elazer is finding critical damage now because in the meantime, he keeps on expanding. Viper's finally coming in. They got a lot of energy. What building did he kill for this one? A hatchery on mid-hit points at the expansion.
Yeah, he was waiting on that energy to really feel secure. Now that he's got lurkers and the choke on the high ground, now that he's got Vipers even going up to full maxed energy off the evolution chamber, he's going to be feeling very close to secure. I think it's still a time where it can be scary, but there's some parasitic bombs. The Elazer forced to split and actually not doing super well about it. There's such a big clump of mutas. Fortunately, they are just shy of dying to the parasitic bomb, and he once again is denied Reynor's 4th, but I think with that, Reynor can now feel confident about further pushes. Elazer wants to actually attack 25 Banelings, but I don't know. There's a lot of lurkers. Reynor's got some solid defense. Oh, jeez.
Yeah, the goal is to just go to 4 bases against this. Oh my god, the Banelings. This is really not cost effective at this point. That hatchery, though, on the 3rd base is low. Imagine if Elazer knew. He would just fly in, kill that one, kill the expansion, which is also mid-hit points because of consume.
Yeah, that would be funny, actually. But the Vipers are so effective, especially since the mutas are still not fully regained on health. So that means that 1 parasitic bomb can kill a lot of them. The split was decent from Elazer, but it feels like he really should have. The last couple of Banelings especially shouldn't have been done. But he was never really that close to breaking Reynor, and now it might be a bit too late. The mutas are pretty much all gone after multiple parasitic bombs. He's down to 5, and he's not in a position to transition.
Yeah, consuming the +3. Oh my god, he stopped on time. Make extra evos, please. Stop putting me through this. Yeah, those mutas, they were pretty terrible at social distancing, by the way. Like, every time took a little too long to split them perfectly, and took so much damage on all of them. Reynor now he's got a giant supply lead, and it feels like Elazer overextended with a lot of these attacks, especially once they were lurkers. Like, he had to stop making Banelings, but that was his only tech, was Banes and mutas.
Yeah, and it's not... Yeah, I don't want to be overly critical, but it wasn't like Elazer was doing anything really that fancy with them. I know his idea is to try and distract and attack where Reynor is weak, and he did at least, once successfully got that 4th base. But, the rest of the time, it was like even the Banelings were going in single file. They really had no chance against the lurkers. So there wasn't a whole lot of finesse added to Elazer's attempted, I guess, bulldog style, just repeat the attack. And it definitely needed some more finesse, needed some more reevaluating as well. It just wasn't going to work. It looks like Banelings actually did collect that weak 3rd hatchery and 18 drones.
Ooh, oh my God.
That's pretty good. And Elazer's still on a lot of bases despite losing that ambitious top right one.
Yeah, Reynor is about to take the base on the right-hand side as well, but Lynx will show up and prevent that. Elazer might still be in it, but he needs time here to replenish that supply count. He's got so much minerals and gas. He has 31 lava. Yeah. He's gonna try to wait and hold out until Ultras. The Ultralis cavern is halfway through done. So much lava, like, oh my God, he's got nerves of steel not to be getting anything right now. Oh my God, mass veins on the left-hand side next to mass hydralisks. That could be dangerous.
Very well could be. Overseer is getting in and seeing what technology is coming out and actually does spot the Ultralis Cavern, so a very nice scout indeed for Reynor. Banelings roll in again into Lurkers, and man, that one Lurker did a fantastic job stopping them from colliding into the Hydras. So again, a bit of a waste on the Banelings. But Elazer, you're right, nerves of steel. He got up to 100 drones for the last minute or two and has just been so patient waiting on that hive technology. So he's got 5 Ultras, 5 Vipers now, and he still is going to be able to accrue a bank because he still has 95 drones, even after building a handful of spine crawlers. His economy is pretty crazy, and Reynor just didn't feel comfortable attacking, which it makes sense. He's pretty blind, aside from that Overseer scout that just happened. He wasn't completely sure of what the situation was.
Yeah, counterattacks are so dangerous on this map. If you just move out with a little too much and you don't have enough at home, you're going to take much more damage than you're going to be able to deal on the other side of the map. There is an Overseer that spotted the Ultralis Cavern, but it's actually 7 Ultras and Chitinous plating that he's going to complete in a second here for Elazer. The thing is, it's so hard to attack into Lurkers, technically, and especially when there's spawns around, which Reynor is doing really well. So I wonder how he's going to set up the attack. Maybe a Nidus or a drop could work if he goes towards the main base. Otherwise, he has to try and run wherever Reynor's not ready, which, I mean, if we look at both the left and right side, there's so many. How many Lurkers? 22. Oh my goodness.
That's a lot of Lurkers. And most importantly, they're protected by Spore Crawlers. That's going to add in some Sim City so the Ultras derp around. It's also going to add threat to the Vipers who are going to try and come in and abduct. But when there's so many Spore Crawlers, Vipers are actually kind of tanky in a way, but Spore Crawlers do well against them. So it's a risk is what I'm saying, to try and actually bulldozer with Ultra Viper, which is why I actually really like the decision of Reynor to not even bother playing it. I think Reynor himself has had too many heartbreakers of trying to force the Ultra issue, and he's also, I guess, he's been on the receiving end and the attacking end and decided not to. Elazer wants to actually just push through the Space Cows, but I don't know. I don't know if this is gonna work. There's so many spores. And the Vipers actually of Reynor could also go for abducts. They're gonna go for parasitic bombs, try and get rid of all of the detection, which is another reason to have the Spore Crawlers. But Elazer, he does push through to the left. The Ultras on the right get totally taken out. And here come the Lurkers, and oh no, there's no recall for Zerg, Todd.
No, where's the rescue?
Oh, well,
actually not
pretty good, actually.
Yeah.
Oh, that's very good.
I don't know about the next wave. Yeah. Well set up with all of these spores here. Yeah, Ultras will all go down. I mean, they did their job. They shut down maybe the most important base at this stage, which is the 5th one that you really cannot let Reynor take. Okay, that base on the left-hand side might have been a little bit overeager here from Elazer, but he's found a lot of damage. Did I just see that right, by the way? Reynor, I think he started Nidus, and then he canceled it. So he kind of changed his mind on trying to be aggressive at all himself.
You might have seen it. I missed it, unfortunately. But I think maybe going to wait for his base to be resaturated, for a bank to accrue, and then maybe try and add it on later. Elazer actually does have a greater Spire already, so you brought that up in Game 2. Didn't really get to see anything play out that way. But the thing is about Broodlords in this matchup is that the reason that they're, kind of defunct in a way, certainly not, 2012 stage, is that abducts are very powerful against them. And this is a lot about the Vipers in the late game. But if you can surprise your opponent and have, equally good Viper wars and actually still have some Corruptors, whatever, the Broodlords will help break these sieges. I think that's what Elazer is going to be thinking about, because he kind of broke once. It wasn't even that successful of a break. This one, I don't know about it. Lurkers on the left side are going to be forced to micro away. as the Vipers of Reynor all got parasitic bombed, but a good last-second split saves most, if not all of them.
That was so close here for a second. Great use of parasitic bomb actually by Elazer. If he had gotten maybe like two or three Viper kills, that would have been huge, perhaps, but doesn't quite get that. Reynor's army supply is 142 against 105, and I think he's finally, like, for the first time in this game, he's moving to the other side of the map with an absurd amount of lurkers here. He's got 19 of them, 22 Hydralisks, 6 Vipers, and he's catching the Broodlords morphing, but they're almost finished.
They have a lot of health. One parasitic bomb's not going to cut it. They finish just in the nick of time, and they're going to push the lurkers back. The hatchery falls, but Elazer's got plenty. He's going to take out the rest of the lurkers. Reynor still wants to take the engagement, but I don't think he actually can. Another parasitic bomb is going to weaken the Broodlords, but a good split away from Elazer. And no abducts to try and take advantage of the Hydra count. Reynor, though, I mean, he also had started to accrue a bank. He's going to replace a lot of those Vipers. 7 more on the way as he deals. I guess his plan is to deal with it with parasitic bombs. And hey, the Broodlords are weak. No transfuses in sight. But Elazer holds. His technology was just coming in at the right moment.
Get off my lawn. Elazer with a sick hold. And +3 Zerg flyer attacks just finished. So that's a big upgrade that he's going to have that, you know, Reynor doesn't even have himself because, you know, he's not even really playing with the Spire. And now the extra base really will come into play in Elazer's favor because he's 22 walkers ahead. So while he might not be able to get the same army supply, he's going to be the one building a far better bank. And in my opinion, has the better army with his Broodlords. But as you said, Vipers can be the great counter against that. And we see Reynor going up to 10 Vipers.
Yeah, at this point, I mean, I like Reynor's plan, but I like that Elazer is also kind of just going for like the, you know, just all in on the Broodlords, actually. So at a certain point, if you have enough, it is going to be hard for Reynor to parasitic bomb them all down or abduct all of them. And funnily enough, Reynor didn't even complete his upgrades on those Hydras. So they don't have the range. They are going to be able to take out these Vipers. Easy peasy. 4 or 5 of them going down. Excellent abducts there as Elazer wasn't quite prepared for it.
Oh, the Broodlords shooting from afar. 2 of them get abducted. They're going to go down very fast. There's the third one. All of these Vipers of Reynor are... Oh my god, all the Broodlords are going extinct. He's sniping all of them.
But there's so many Broodlords. That's the problem. And they're so well upgraded as well. 3-3 as they shoot and attack on the ground. The Vipers are still full of energy. There's still a lot of abducts left over, and Elazer is just bleeding out Broodlords. He's trying to bring Queens forward, but they're out of transfuses. They haven't helped for a while. And that mighty count of 15 Broodlords gets taken down to 4. And I don't know if Reynor really sacrificed a lot to do that.
Yeah, there's not many lurkers left. That's the thing. And I think Elazer picked up on that. There's only 4 lurkers left for Reynor. So now he's transitioning into Ultras instead. 3 more Ultras. He's already got 3 up there. The plan for Elazer might just be to not go too crazy on the left-hand side, and instead shut down that base on the right-hand side, which he sees is being taken right now. If he can do that, he has such an economic lead with the extra bases that he might be fine, but this hasn't been a very cost-effective game. I mean, if we look at the unit stab lost, almost 30,000 resources were lost here for Elazer against, in terms of minerals, and 18,000, well, I can check the overall, 46,000 to 26.
There you go, there you go. Yeah, it's, I mean, that is the game that we expected, but the Broodlord edition was not really what I was anticipating. Thought the resources lost would be all in Ultras and Ling run-bys and Viper abducts, but Elazer's not giving up on the Broodlords. I did misread a little bit the scenario. I didn't realize so many Hydras had been lost in the exchange, but it started off with Elazer also losing like all of his Vipers, which is why I think it was still a very questionable one for Elazer. But now maybe that he's gotten his own Vipers full in energy, he's the one going for some attacks, his Ultra's trying to break through. Maybe he'll be the one that actually is kind of controlling the fight, right? And situating his Broodlords and Vipers correctly.
Okay, Reynor is back up to 10 lurkers. Actually, he was up to 11 and he just had 1 die. And he was gonna go for... Okay, no, he did go for Evo Chambers. Finally, those Vipers. I can stop stressing, Jess. It finally happens. There's Evos near them. Imagine he still uses Consume on a hatch. I'm gonna lose my mind.
would be funny. There's certainly one weakness of Broodlords aside from being abductable, and that is that they cannot maneuver easily. So Elazer, he has a couple of spine crawlers from actually like 10 minutes ago, honestly, helping to defend, and they're taking down too many Hydras there, so Reynor's going to wait for his lurkers, but then we have the potential for a base race, right? Which, I don't know if that's how it's going to go down. Elazer accidentally sends some of his units into that Spore Crawler forest, and is just getting abducted into it as well, but the Broodlords will, I mean, can they eventually break through? The abducts here for Reynor, there are just so many of them, and his Vipers still aren't dead. That one parasitic bomb got close, but not quite.
Spores do so much damage to Vipers and Broodlords there, so just Spores plus Vipers is what you need to defend against Broodlords. Apparently, he's killed all of them. Elazer forced to tap out Reynor with the 3-1 victory.